Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to show you how to automate checking stock prices. I'm sure you guys are Googling companies that you want to invest in every day, to check the prices, whether it's going up and down. But to automate the process, I'm going to show you how to use Python coding. So here are the things that we're going to use today. So as you can see, this is not for a beginner, very super beginner, because you're going to use API, we're going to use request module, and then we're going to use list comprehension. So let's get started. Before we actually start coding, the first thing we need to do is we need to get the API key from the website called Alphavintage. So let's just Google Alphavintage API. Then on the first page, go to get your free API key today. So you might be wondering, what is this website? So Alphavintage is a website where you'll be able to get an API request for all different stock prices or even cryptocurrency prices. I'll get to that in a second, but we need to get our free API key. I just want to let you know that I'm not sponsored by this website. I discovered the website and found it really useful, and I wanted to share with you. On this web page, so you need to just put your basic information, like whether you're an investor, software developer, educator, or student, and then just put down your company or university name and email address, and then that's it. And then you'll be able to get your free API key. And make sure you keep that in a safe place. You're gonna need it for our coding. And then let's go to the documentation page. Here, obviously, it's got all the API documentation. So it has 5 categories: time series, stock APIs, fundamental data, etc. So there are all sorts of different information, but today we're going to use time series stock APIs. So especially in this section, time series daily section, we'll revisit it when we start coding. So now that we have our Alphavintage API, now we're going to start coding. So we're going to use the request module here. So if you haven't installed it yet, make sure you install it beforehand, because we're going to use this module. I'm not going to show you how to install it in this video. There are lots of videos on YouTube you can refer to. Now let's start coding. So as you can see, I've already created all the variables beforehand. I'm going to put the script below so that you can use this script as a basis, maybe when you're following through this video. So let's get started. So firstly, we have our API key. So these 3 variables are constant variables. The reason why I'm assigning these values to constant is because this is going to be fixed. That's not going to change. So API key, that's going to be fixed. API endpoint, that's going to be the same all the time. But maybe the stock name you might want to change, but in this video, it's not going to change. So API key is your API key. So make sure you put that API key in here. And then API endpoint. So if you go back to the Alphavintage documentation, scroll it down to time series daily. So here we can copy that API endpoint. So that's going to be API endpoint is going to be up to here. So before function, before the question mark, because we're going to use that function and symbol and API key, those parameters, we're going to put that in a dictionary. So let's just get that API endpoint first. There you go. Then stock name. So it depends on which company you're interested in. So there are like 2 or 3 companies you are interested in, like you may be on your watch list. So I don't know what would that be, But in this video, I'm just going to use Amazon as an example. Everyone knows what Amazon is. Probably a lot of people are using it already. So the thing is, you have to use the stock symbol, not actual stock name. So the stock symbol is the symbol of the company that's being traded on the stock exchange. So I think like Tesla is TSLA or something like that. It's a short name for that company. So the stock symbol for Amazon is AMZN in capital letters. Now that we have assigned all those values, now we are going to create a dictionary to put those API parameters that we just looked at. So let's go back to the API documentation again. Here, time series daily. The API parameters that are required are function, symbol, and API. So let's go back to, so we're going to copy that actually. Time series daily, that's the function we're using. So like I said, this is going to be a dictionary format. So which means it's going to be keys and values, key and value pairs. So first of all, we're going to put function key, and then the value is the one that we just copied, which is time series daily, and then symbol is the company symbol. So we define it there, so we just need to put that variable, stock name, and then API key is going to be your API key that we defined above. And make sure the API key is in small letters. Alright, so that's it. Those are the parameters. Now we're going to make a request to the Alphavintage using the API endpoint and the parameters that we've defined. So firstly, we're going to have to write requests.get and then the API endpoint URL, which is the API endpoint that we defined above. And then params are the API parameters that we defined above, which is a stock parameters variable. So response, then I assigned that to a variable called response, but you can define it however you want. Now that we want to fetch the content in a JSON format. So what that means is that we have data, we have access to the data here. So access to the information about the Amazon stock. Now we want to fetch the content in a JSON format. It's going to be in a dictionary format. That's why we are using that JSON format. And we're going to use the variable response to access the data and then fetch the content in JSON format. We're using .json. Let's see what comes out here. Right, looks like we now have access all the data about Amazon stock, prices, and all the those informations in a JSON format, which is in a dictionary. So that looks good to me. But now, as you can see, we are only interested in this part, time series daily. So let's have access to that so that it shows only the price information. I'm going to copy the whole thing, the key, the time series daily key, so that I don't misspell it anyway. And then let's print that out and see how that looks like. Okay, that looks good. Now we have all the price information. Now let's turn that into a list and then loop through so that we can get the closing prices here, for example. As you can see in this dictionary, the first key value pair information first key value pair contains yesterday's information, and the second one contains the day before yesterday price information. Alright, I'm gonna save that in this data list and then create an empty list and then loop through. So why am I using that items method? I'm sure a lot of you know already. I'm using that items method so that I can turn that data dictionary into list. And then I'm going to loop through value and then save those values to data list. To do that, I'm going to have to append those values. And let's see what comes out. Okay, so that looks good to me. Now it's saved in a dictionary, in a list. As you can see, it contains all the opening prices, the highest prices on the day, and closing prices. We're only interested in the closing prices, so let's have access to the closing prices for yesterday. So I'm going to define it, as you can see here, yesterday's data, y data, and then data list, and then because this is saved in a dictionary, we have to use the index. So as you know, Python starts from 0. We're going to have to access to the first index, which is index of 0, to get yesterday's data. Let's see what comes out from there. Okay, that looks good to me. Now that we can get the yesterday's closing price. So here, y data, and then because this is a dictionary, we have to access to that key value, so that we can have access to this closing price value. Okay, let's print that out. Okay, that looks good to me. Now we're gonna get the day before yesterday's closing price. It's the same deal as here, how we got the yesterday's price. I'm gonna copy that. But we're gonna access to the second index, which is index of 1. And then day before closing price would be day before data, and then the 4-point close key. And let's print if this is correct. Okay, that looks good to me. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to compare those two prices so that we know the price has decreased or increased over the 2 days. So let's calculate the price difference. It's a pretty simple calculation. So yesterday's closing price minus day before yesterday's closing price. But we're going to have to turn that into float because at the moment it's saved as a string. Okay, let's just print to see if it doesn't give any error. Okay, that looks good. We also probably want to round it up. Okay, and then we want to see probably in percentage, the price difference in percentage. So to do that, we're going to use the price difference and then divided by yesterday's closing price and then times 100. That will give us the price difference in percentage, but we have to change it to float. round it up. See what comes out. Okay, looks like it's a 3% increase. So the positive difference means the price has gone up. If it gives a minus, the price has gone down over that period, which is over the 2 days. You could change that to price difference and add that percentage symbol, so you know that it's in percentage, not in actually dollar. Okay, 3%. That's pretty much it. That's how you get the price movement using the Alphavintage API. Obviously, have a read through those documentation. Probably you might have other ideas how you can use this API. I found it really useful to monitor the stock prices. I guess to finish that automation process, you probably want to get notified via your email. And then that's going to be in the next video. So thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe my channel and like my video if this was helpful. So thanks for watching, guys, again. See you next time.